how are you? Hope you're doing fine. And in this video, we will be discussing as part of our Money Talk series, the fourth stage of our financial framework, which is to prioritize. I just would like to share with you again my financial framework, which is the first step is on discover. The second step is to evaluate, and third is to allocate. And in this video, we will be discussing on the fourth stage, which is to prioritize, or you have to build a solid financial foundation. What is for you building a solid financial foundation? So in my case, I followed my mentor, Mr. Randall Johnson, in having this kind of solid financial foundation. So the first step is to really improve cash flow. So I have discussed this one also in the previous video, right? So as you have recalled, and step 2 is getting out of debt, and step 3 is setting up your emergency fund, and the fourth step is getting protected from life's risk, and the 5th step is the investing for your future. So for me, this is my meaning of how a solid financial foundation works. So I will just explain it to you later on how this every steps works. So I have already shared this one already in the previous video, which is to really how to really manage your cash flow. So diba, as we have discussed, yung inflow mo mas better if malaki compare dun sa mga outflow ng cash flow mo. So if nasa stage ka na nahihirapan ka, so this is how we could increase your cash flow. It's either you make more money or you spend less money, right? So here, so to recall the allocation, we have the 20-60-20, right? So this is only a guideline for you to really follow, or you could have like 50, 30, and 20, or 50 operation, 30 security, and 20% for your wants. So depende yan sa inyo. So ang importante is naka-allocate siya at saka balanse, di ba? So it should have totaled 100%. The step 2 is to really resist or minimize your debt. So in minimizing your debt, marami kasing challenge doon sa when it comes sa pag-reduce o pag-eliminate ng debts. So borrowings, especially unnecessary borrowings such as consumer debt or doon sa mga credit cards, personal loans na hindi naman siya kailangan, it is very costly because of the interest that we pay. So without realizing that one, ako din in the previous years, when diba, pag may mga loans, hindi tayo masyadong nagko-consider doon sa sa interest. Maybe some of us, but some of us don't really know how it works, diba? So it is really important to really investigate kung magkano or how the interest really works, kasi may iba-ibang scheme din yung mga loan, mga lending companies na yan. So also, it is difficult to have a good level of savings when you owe too much, as you end up paying debt against saving money. So ito, totoo to, pag mahirapan ka talagang mag-save is if marami pa yung debt mo compared to dun sa isi-save mo. So having this solid financial foundation is to really have to really minimize or to really eliminate debt. So in the future videos, I will be sharing in this group, I will be sharing future videos on many ways to pay off debt. So I will be discussing this in a separate video in the future. So yan, yung credit card. So the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. So ito din based on the Bible, that it says that if minsan kasi nagiging slave na tayo doon sa mga utang. So yun yung dapat natin i-stop or yun yung dapat natin na i-minimize. Kasi mahirap pag mahirap talaga mag-save pag baon ka sa utang. So the first step to really is to minimize your debt and pay off all of it. You should have ways, you make ways on how to really pay off your debt. So debt is not an issue of sin, it is an issue of wisdom. So kasi minsan din, di ba, yung iba akala mo pag may utang malaki ng kasalanan. So it's not really that, but instead debt usually nagbibigay siya ng wisdom para sa atin, di ba? So ito yung one of the ways na magpe-pay off yung debt mo, to eliminate your debts. So, di ba, from makikita mo sa larawan is you could start eliminating your smallest debt, then so on as to dun sa malalaking debt. So later on I will discuss that one in a separate video. So step 3 of the solid financial foundation that I will be sharing is to set up your emergency fund. So you have to build your emergency fund. Why? So in general, the size of your emergency fund should not depend on how easy it would be to replace your current income. So regardless of what life stage you fall under, preparing for emergency is a must. And the purpose of an emergency fund is to ensure that you have a liquid fund to draw from should an emergency arise. So emergency fund must be replenished once it has been used and depleted. So you must have at least 3 months, so 3 months of your expenses. So if you have 20,000 monthly expenses, so you should have 60 emergency fund that you should build up, diba? So 3 months is good, 4 months is better, so 5 months would be great, and 6 months would be an excellent one. So if you have like 20, so 20 times 6, so 120,000 of emergency fund would do an excellent job. So you could save that on a bank because it's liquid, and in case, and since it's emergency, so you should have it itong madali siyang kunin. So bank or cooperatives would like mas maigi dun ilalagay kasi mga liquid funds yan, mga ganun. So yung iba nagtatanong, is it really like kailangan ba talagang to set aside the example, the 120k of the one that I said, the 20,000 example. So pag hindi naman kaya, you could have start baby steps, diba? Because baby steps is the key to big dreams. So pag hindi siya pag hindi mo talaga kaya, you could start saving 10%, diba? Yung 10% of your 10% of the security budget, or this 10% of the one's budget. So depende na yun sa'yo. So the important thing is to really start saving. So you could have start in a small amount, then later on a bigger amount. So kasi in reality kasi, big savings is really just a small savings done very regularly. So ito yung point ko dito. So that's why baby steps. Next would be in the solid financial foundation is the getting protected from life's risk. So it means we should have understand the importance of having an insurance and its purpose, and because many of us do not have a proper understanding when it comes to insurance. And you see, the true purpose of insurance means transferring risk to a third party that would compensate you for losses. So it's all about risk. So risk is defined as the possibility of loss. So protect yourself from life's risk. So across the years, the insurance industry has created many amazing financial products that cater to different financial needs. So of course, I am aware that some people are skeptical about insurance and how much you really need. And this is why I am discussing this to guide you all the way. So you see, nobody likes to discuss about that, right? So nobody likes to discuss about illness. And nobody likes to discuss about what happens if an accident occurs and you're unable to work. So, but we are seeing incidences like this happening every day, right? So it's all around us. And we probably try to convince ourselves saying, this will not happen to me. So ito, marami akong nadidinig nito. Hindi pa naman ako mamamatay, di ba? So, the question is, alam mo ba kung kailan? So, life risk. So, you should protect yourself from life risk. This is all life insurance would come. So, life meaning, in life insurance, it protects your liabilities or debt. So, di ba, once there's a loss, it would become a liability. And if something happens to you or something happens to anybody in your family, because it's an uncontrollable, hindi talaga makontrol yun, di ba? So nandun yung liabilities. Life insurance proceeds can serve as a source of support or the pay of debts. So, di ba, pag ito kasi, I have experienced this one because when my grandparents died, lumalaki yung liabilities namin. Lumaki yung utang sa hospital at saka during the funeral. So life insurance protects your wealth from potential creditors. So, ito din, if ever you have business, pag may business ka, tapos, ito din, life insurance is magsisave sa'yo sa mga utang mo na hindi na kailangan maging burden pa dun sa naiwan or dun sa family. So, in most jurisdiction, insurance proceeds are exempt from seizure by creditors. So, this allows your dependents to be taken care of. So, minsan kasi, especially pag tayo mga businessman or you have like debts, so, di ba, mapupunta talaga dun sa, sa naiwan, yung burden or yung liabilities. So, life insurance also serves as income replacement. So, life insurance provides support for daily living expenses of your family and dependents. So, ito, income replacement. Kasi pag wala ka na sa picture, nagpapatuloy ba yung expenses ng family mo? Diba? Patuloy pa din. So, this life insurance would really save or would really help your family to income na sasagot dun sa mga expenses ng family mo kahit wala ka na. So, next is life insurance preserves your state. So, isa din to sa importance of why having a life insurance, because if you have a lot of property, if you have a lot of assets, it would really have that we call estate tax. So, babayaran mo din yun or babayaran ng family mo. What if wala ka silang pambayad? Baka yung mga assets mo pa yung mapafroze ng mga banks. Diba? So, mas mahirap. Pinaghirapan mo yun pinaghirapan mo siya ng matagal para magka-assets. Pero, in the end, pag mawala ka sa mundong ito, iba na din yung makikinabang. Hindi talaga yung family mo. Which is in the first place, why you really work hard and why you really have those assets. It's for the family, right? So, parang yung purpose niya. Parang nawala yung purpose of your assets, di ba? So, you have to really protect that one. And, so, your final expenses, di ba? It really saves the burden of your family in having this final expenses. Final expenses would really mean the burial, or prior to your death is parang may mga medical, di ba? Parang nangyari dun sa grandparents ko na we were maraming utang sa hospital na naiwan, almost 1 million. So yun yung mga final expenses na dapat nating i-consider, di ba? Kasi hindi naman natin kontrolado lahat. So next would be education. So life insurance would also serves as a education for your child, because 'di ba, if ever nakakapag-prepare, may investment ka nga, pero kung bago pa yung investment mo, tapos yung purpose nun is for education ng anak mo, pero if ever something happens to you sooner, hindi kasya yung mga investment mo, 'di ba? So in life insurance, it also serves the purpose of i-preserve yung education plan for your child. So yun, nakakapag-aral pa din siya kasi may proceeds from the insurance. So yun. And you see, insurance is a product designed to provide for some measure of protection. So at least financially, should a disaster happen. So but the challenge for most of us breadwinners is this: what if we run out of time? So, di ba, yung sabi ko, what if something happens to us? You see, death is something that we cannot predict nor control. To a breadwinner, it's like we're racing against time. So, life insurance fills the gap between the breadwinner's existing wealth versus the required funds needed to support his or her family. So, it really builds financial security for your family. So, it really builds a future for your child. And this one, so you have to really manage the financial impact of uncontrollable events. So if you are married, go find out if you and your husband have life insurance. So kasi may nare-recall ako dito. So one of my clients asked me, is it okay to insure just my husband? So now many thinks that it's okay and enough, right? But it's a huge mistake. After all, if something happens to you, who is going to take care of the kids, right? If something happens to you, mababaon din ba sa utang yung husband mo? Either of you, if something happens to either of you. So that's my question. So whatever the case may be, if you are married, both of you should have life insurance to really have that financial security. We probably know insurance can give us that peace of mind, but there seems to be thousands of insurance products in the market. So, and we all get really confused when we try to buy them, diba? So, what life insurance should I buy? So I will try to explain it in a simple manner. So, first and foremost, there are two types of life insurance. So, we have the term or the traditional and the permanent. So, this traditional do not build cash value, has lower premium, so it is very advisable for people who make their own investment and want to have control in own investment. So it is purely a life insurance. So the very advantage of this is it is very cheap and generally very easy to get. So however, it does not allow you to build any cash value. So it means no matter how long you pay, you will never accumulate any. So you can evaluate first if your budget could not suffice and later change with the more extensive plan that you have. So pwede siyang it's a good start yung traditional plan to really have protection, 'di ba? Since hindi naman natin control lahat. And the second one is the permanent insurance, or what we call it is known as having or building, it has a cash value. So it provides a saving plan that can help you build good nest egg, and you can use the savings to pay your annual premiums on your policy. So it also can be automate. It could serve as a automation or automate investment, so it's tax free, and it safeguards from contract termination since it has a cash value. So it depends really on how on what insurance would you avail. So you could ask your financial advisors if you have one, and you should have to understand these types of insurance. So I would like to share this one. So there is no such thing as best product. So always subscribe to the principle of suitability. So kasi iba-iba tayo ng preference, iba-iba tayo ng financial situation. So yung mga product ng life insurance din is iba-iba din. Kaya marami siya kasi iba-iba yung mga needs, financial needs ng iba-ibang tao. So iba-iba din yung nag-fit doon. So it's really up to you kung ano yung gusto niyo. So eto, the fourth the next one is to get a health insurance. So aside from life insurance, you should have a health insurance you can afford. So since life insurance, it really protect your family, diba, from burden, financial burden. Same with health insurance kasi when critical illness or any accident happen to you, this could really help. So this is another key financial need everyone needs, and this is very important in any life stages. So let me discuss you more extensively how you can prepare for health concerns such as serious illness, right? So we work hard to accomplish our goals in life, diba? Kaya nga tayo nagtatrabaho, diba? So however, no matter what we do, there are uncontrollable events, so such as unforeseen illness that can derail our carefully throughout plans and block our path towards our financial destination. So minsan din kasi yung mga goals natin hindi natin na-achieve because of the situation, yung mga serious physical breakdown na nangyayari, diba? So it is advisable therefore to have a safety net, so against your greatest financial vulnerability. So unexpected illness, so imagine what would happen if a critical illness hits you today. Wouldn't you want to be financially prepared for such an event? So with the advancement in technology, the good news is that the chances of survival and recovery from a critical illness is high. So pwede na with all the advances ng mga technology. The bad news is that it is going to be very costly. So when faced with the heavy burden of expenses, it's challenging to focus on surviving and recovering, diba? So nakasurvive ka nga, how much if naka-recover ka, so gagasto ka din. So and when unprepared, majority are left with no choice but to sacrifice their savings or borrow from family members. So borrow from family members. So what if walang wala din sila? So it's very stressful, right? So I'm sure you don't want this to happen. So rather you want to spare yourself and your family from the financial heartache. So I would really recommend to have this health insurance because it is really vital nowadays. So medical cost in the Philippines doubles every 6 to 8 years. So, diba? Average 3-day stay in the hospital would cost about 20,000. Ang mahal. So, private hospitals can let you in without deposit and payment. So, most people rely on their children or sell properties to borrow money for medical needs during retirement. So, majority reason for bankruptcy is due to medical crisis. And the only way to spend zero or a least amount of money is going to a government hospital. Diba? Yung nangyari din sa amin to. We go to, when my parents got hospitalized, when my grandparents got hospitalized, so yun, may mga PCSO, diba? May mga ganun. Pero, it really take time and, you would line up and, what if wala, di ba? Or what if maliit lang yung binigay? Yun yung mas masaklap. Yun. So, it's really very, ako, tinithink ko pa lang, parang na-stress na ako, di ba? So, government support for healthcare is challenging to avail. So, you line up for hours and even days getting support, di ba, from the SWD or mga Lingap or mga any foundation. So, and some hospitals don't even accept letter of guarantee from these agencies because they have a lot of pending payments. So, ito yun din naging problema ng mga tao dito sa Philippines. It's a reality. So, you can only get a lesser amount of approximately 10% of your total bill. So, my God. Diba? So, sabi nila, well, how about the PhilHealth? Diba? Or SSS. Somehow, it offers a caution, diba? But often, still, kulang siya. So, still, it will left you with significant amount of money for you to settle the bills. Parang kulang pa din. So, based talaga ito sa, it's a real reality. And so, healthcare coverage minus actual cost of healthcare, diba? So, if you come to think of it, this four condition is the common conditions that very costly na I think mahirap talaga siyang i-ano. So, and most of the HMO coverage in the Philippines would only take 150k. So, siguro meron sa iba mga 500k pero very ano na siya, very expensive, especially to those most of the Filipino could not afford that one, right? So, for example, yung cancer, it would like 2.5, like, diba? So, pag yung HMO coverage mo is 150k lang, so you have to really shell out the remaining amount of 2 plus million, diba? So, saan ka kukuha nun? Nakaka-stress. I know it's a sad reality for all, and for me siguro iniisip ko pa lang is parang nasa-stress na ako. So that's why I'm encouraging you to really prepare on this, because ito naman yung mga hindi natin kontrolado talaga. Other than your health, so isa din yung, diba, pag nagkasakit ka, hindi ka na makakapagtrabaho. So paano na yung income mo? So ito yun. So your income is probably your most important asset, right? So when you lose it, all you could be losing your primary means of financial security. So mawawala din lahat. It's very it's very stressful talaga if you have to think of it. So it is the greatest threat to our ability to achieve the life you want. So minsan nag-give up na yung mga, di ba? Nag-give up na yung iba kasi mahirap talaga. I mean, if you could really just imagine it. So bakit tayo mag-avail ng critical illness? So ito din yung ito yung ding, kasi may nagtatanong din iba, is the HMO the same with critical illness, or pwede ba HMO na lang or wala ng critical illness plan? So I just would like to share this with you, the features of HMO and the critical illness plan. So usually for HMO, usually up to age 65 siya, so at saka lower amount, diba? I showed earlier yung mga 150k, diba? Versus the cost of the sickness, yung 2.5 million. So, yung critical illness naman, pwede siya, it could cover 70 up to age 100. So, yung benefit availment, so ito yung din yung malaking pagkakaiba ng HMO at critical illness. So, si HMO, charge hospital bills against yearly amount availed. So, doon assist to lahat sa hospital. Sa hospital na lahat ang it's the company, the HMO company and the hospital would settle that one. But when you have the critical illness plan, it is a lump sum amount will be given to client or will be given to you. For example, you have a 1 million plan of critical illness. So 1 million yung ibibigay sa iyo. Hindi dadaan sa hospital. So sa iyo siya directly. Since you are the owner and hence they have full control on amount received. So what if 1 million? So what if yung so if may sobra, pwede mo siyang maging income replacement mo for your everyday expenses ng family mo. So yun yung advantage ng critical illness plan, 'di ba? So you have the full control kung paano mo siya gamitin. So after you pay the bills, if may extra, so yun, pwede mong panggastos after recovery, so lahat. So annual premium si HMO, every year magre-renew siya. So if nothing happens to you, if nothing happens or hindi ka na hospitalized, so hindi mo siya maa-avail yung HMO. So ito si critical illness, may mga fixed premium siya, depende. May mga 10 to 15 or 20 years to pay siya. So, pero covered ka from up to age 100 or 70. Range pa din dun sa 70 to 100. So, inclusions, dun sa HMO, may consultation, inpatient, outpatient, so mga medicines available in hospital. But in critical illness, covers diagnosed with major and minor critical illness. For example, yung mga stroke, yung cancer, although covered naman din siya sa HMO, pero limited lang yung kasi, yung amount dun na ibibigay sa HMO. So others would does not include recovery related expenses, yun nga. So if availed through company, it will be terminated if you resign, right? So mawawala siya pag resign ka na din sa company mo. So provides recovery expenses since it is critical illness diagnosis. So ito nga, so you could use yung binigay sa iyo for critical illness in recovery expenses. So conclusion, so both are important to have. So I really recommended it to have both the HMO and the critical illness since they supplement each other. So hindi sila contradictive with each other. Nagko-complement sila. And so most Filipinos do not have insurance or have very little of it. So it's a sad reality, no? Because kailangan pa talaga kasing i-mindset yung mga Filipinos when it comes to life insurance and health insurance. The only thing worse than getting sick is getting sick with no money to fund the treatment. So our loved ones will suffer the most, emotionally and financially. So can you bear that thought? And here's the thing, insurance is the only thing that would give you a significant sum of money that could actually recover everything you need. So to really determine the minimum amount of life insurance you need, the rule of thumb is to take your gross annual income and multiply it by 5 or 10. So depende na sa iyo yun. So how many years would you like na pwede mong iwan yung sa family mo? So but you have to also to consider this mga immediate needs. So just like this one, the immediate needs on hospitalization, the burial, di ba? Liabilities, the state settlement if may mga assets ka, or any other miscellaneous expenses. And another thing is you have to really consider also educational fund amount. So if you have 3 child or 1, you could allocate 1 million each. So of course, replacement income fund. So if your family have monthly need of 100,000, so you would have annual need of 1.2 million. So all in all, you should have a life insurance coverage of 22 million, di ba? So it's an ideal, but you could start if if talaga tight talaga yung budget, you could start in a lesser coverage, di ba? 1 million, 2 million, okay na yun. But this should be your basis when computing how much insurance coverage you are going or ideal to have, right? So I will be putting a Excel file in the comment section for you to really input, kasi iba-iba din yung needs, iba-iba, di ba? So iba walang child, ang iba mayroong mga child, so yun, iba-iba yung monthly need or monthly expenses, so magkakaiba din dun. Then ito, if you have life insurance existing, so you could deduct that one. So we have, like, for this example, we have 16 million na may income protection sources na siya. So 22 minus 16, so may mga shortfall siya na protection of 6.5 million. So may mga insurance company din naman na yung mga pure life insurance for just a minimum amount or for affordable amount, nagko-cover na siya ng mga up to 2 million. May mga iba din naman. So depende. So you could talk to your advisor on that if you really want to have a protection ASAP, di ba? So the last step or the last step in having a solid financial foundation is to really investing for your future. So investing for your future, for me, it means I have to prepare for my retirement or retirement planning. So a recent retirement survey that found more than 70% of elderly Filipinos live with their children and 40% depend on them for financial. So may mga misconceptions din kasi kayo. Major problem in doing retirement planning is the belief that they do not need it in the first place, diba? I mean, ito yung masaklap. Most of the Filipinos think this way and suffers in the future. Pag nandun na sila, doon pa nila marirealize. And I don't want it to happen to me, and I don't want it to happen to you also. So as early as now, we really have to really prepare planning for our retirement. And kasi I believe na the world is changing, diba? Drastically changing. So, diba, you could imagine how inflation affects our lifestyle, diba? So, inflation meaning yung prices of goods nag-i-increase talaga and services. So, I can only imagine when I was in elementary, yung 1,000 pesos is marami ka na mabibili. Pero ngayon, compare ngayon, yung 1,000 pesos mo, hindi na pupuno yung basket. So, you could just imagine that one. So, ito yung effect kung bakit kailangan tayong mag-prepare for our retirement to really sustain kung ano yung gusto nating buhay when we retire. Because it's a sad reality that is happening right now to our retirees, right? So, I can see a lot of them nag-struggle talaga. Because they really rely on the retirement, which is, I think, not enough. Diba? So, good thing, may nare-receive sila. Pero, ang iba na mismanage, ang iba kulang talaga. And, it's really a sad reality. And I don't want this to happen in the future with you or with me, right? So for children are not obligated to save up for their parents, but parents for their children. So it is really important, no? The Bible tells us this one through 2 Corinthians 12:14. So as you can tell, retirement planning is very beneficial for everyone, and it is a plan that should be started as early as possible, as you will have no longer time horizon to achieve those plans draw for them. So ang iba kasi may mga mentality kasi yung Pinoy na saka na ako magpaplanan pag 50s or sa 40s, which is very in a sad way, which is very hindi siya advisable kasi mahirap na pag sa yung 40 tapos doon ka pa magsa-start. How could you reach your target retirement fund with that, 'di ba? Mas mahirap. So a purposeful retirement is when you have sufficient income and activities to fulfill your life with satisfaction in the later years. So it is a good man leaves an inheritance to his children, but the sinner's wealth is laid out for the right use. So I just would like you to realize this one, or just imagine this one. So what is your true meaning of retirement? So how would you feel if you're retired at 60, diba? So if you could fast forward to your ideal retirement, so what would you find doing to fill your days? So ano yung dapat ginagawa mo na, diba? So you just imagine, ano yung gusto mong gawin? So is it traveling? Is it hanging out with family and friends? Or you could have a focus in your hobby? Or is it leaving a legacy? So this is something you have to find out. So hindi siya, you should have ikaw talaga dapat magsiset, hindi ibang tao. And this know when you want to retire. This is another thing that I would like you to think, no? Because know when you want to retire. It's you're 50 or 40. Kasi ito din isang factor to really identify on how you really want to live your retirement years. So you should have a clear goal when it comes to your retirement. So for example, I want to retire at age 60 with 30 million in investment that will yield me approximately 100,000 pesos monthly on top of my expense of my pension and social security benefits. So ito din, I would just like to emphasize. So it was never intended to be a retirement plan. I realized this one because it's good if you have SSS, but it only provides for income supplement. So how about your lifestyle, diba? So since SSS pension range from 1 to some of it 10,000, although the average would be 3,600, so most retirees receive much lower than that. And even the highest pension is in the range wouldn't be enough. And wouldn't be enough if gusto mo mag-travel, diba? Gusto mong ipagpatuloy yung hobbies mo. This would not be enough. I will tell you, because it will only cover your food expenses. So how about your medical expenses, diba? So it's really not enough. So some of the people they didn't realize their expenses, especially their health care expenses. So the financial goal of retirement is to ensure that you receive a consistent flow of income when you retire. So this is not only important to do for yourselves, but it's also a wonderful gift to your loved ones when you are financially independent and not in need of their financial support later. So how would you like to live in your retirement? Do you want to be a burden to your children? So it's up to you. So now do you know how much you need for retirement to live comfortably and stress-free retirement? So this would be the formula of computing your retirement fund. So future fund needed for my retirement years. So for example, it's the cost of living today. So if ever for 1 year ito yung ginagasto mo, diba? Ginagastos mo yun ng family mo. So times 4%, assume inflation rate. So may inflation rate na 4%. So times 20 years until retirement. So it's the assumption here is nasa 40 years old siya. Ay, ganun. So, may 20 years pa siya until retirement. So, it would have an increased cost in for 480,000. So, may siya, may inflation factor siya. That's why may increase na 480,000 after 20 years, right? So, it's 600 plus 600,000 the cost of living today. So, you would have need a 1.08 million annual cost of living in 20 years. So, what if you will live too long? Diba? What if you will live too long? What if, for in this example, you will live 30 years? So, you would like to multiply that 1.08 million as your annual cost of living in 20 years. After 20 years, it is the cost, diba, of your living, cost of living mo, yung halaga, yung value ng cost of living mo after 20 years from 600,000, right? So, if you are living too long, if you live for 30 years in retirement, so you should multiply that one and come up with a figure of 32.4 million. So, ito yung mga how do you really compute your retirement fund or your magic number? We call it your magic number. So, my question is your SSS and company retirement fund enough and matches with the need retirement fund based on what we computed as future value? So, definitely not, diba? So, the future is going to be expensive, and the longer you live, the more expensive it gets. So, that's why financial planning is very important to ensure that when you finally do retire, you will have sufficient money for the lifestyle you want to live on. So, it removes the stress and financial devastation in the future so that you can retire comfortably after years of working. So now, even if you say, I know I should do this, but tend to be slow or late about doing saving because you don't want it. So, I recall one incident with a client saying, I don't think you are right with getting yourself to save such percentage, yung security basket. So, kasi iba nga, I don't earn enough. Yung iba, there are so many bills to pay. Of course naman, I understand that one. Me too, may mga bills din naman ako. So, but it doesn't mean hindi ka na magsisave. So, many of us here have too much expense, right? So, like homes, car payments, college costs. So, we are basically living from paycheck to paycheck. And you can pay 20% pay cut. So, parang sa iba imposible. But, I really understand how Filipinos think, right? I really understand how Filipinos felt. So, because I felt that same way before. But I found out that there will always be a way. And of course, with motivation and discipline, of course you can. So if you can imagine saving at 20% of your income right now, just start with a goal to bump up your savings. So instead of 20, you could start with 3% for this month. Then you bump up another 3% for the next month. So for the next month, you could save 6%, diba? Until you come up with a 20% saving. So, diba? So example, if you are earning 70,000 a month, you would just have to start saving about 2,100 per month for the next 6 months. So in that case, that would be a great start and a great action, a great implementation already. Because ika nga, pag hindi ka nakapag-start ngayon, marami kang excuses. In the next year, you do the same thing. And walang mangyayari talaga. So, get in the habit of saving. So, just start small. just save something, and save that something every week. It's definitely a good start. And I hope you've also learned more about yourself, and I hope you've learned a lot from this video. And as what Robert Kiyosaki said, that as soon as you learn financial skills for the new age, you'll take control of your life. So by now you should realize that yes, there is a work to be done in having a financial security. You will be able to focus more on your dream and make it into reality. So along the way, it will never be easy, but I'd rather learn these new financial skills than being financially devastated again for the rest of my life, right? So just like when you are sick, you consult with a doctor. When you build your house, you get an architect, right? So in developing your financial plan, the best person to do it is you. But it's always helpful to have an expert's point of view. So if you have financial advisors, you could approach them. And as Proverbs 2:15 said, plan carefully and you will have plenty. And I really hope you are loving your journey with me and you're making some good progress, right? So I understand that each of us has different needs, ways to secure our future. If you want to learn more and make a plan, if you want to learn more and you want to make a plan that would tailor fit in your financial situation, so let's start your journey together. And you can message me in my FB, or we'll see how I can help you. And hopefully you have learned a lot from this session, and we could start your journey together for in planning. And I really understand each of us has these different needs, ways. Each of us has different ways to secure our future. So if you really want to learn more and you want to have a financial plan that tailor fit with your own situation, you could approach any financial advisors that you have or you like, and also we could also start your journey together. So let's create a personalized plan, financial roadmap. So that depends on your present situation and how you plan your future. So let's take that first step. So you can message me in my FB, or you could message me in my page. Message me and let's see how I can help you with your financial roadmap. So let's take this journey together. Hope I could see you in my next video, which is the next stage in our financial framework, which is to grow or to grow your hard-earned money. So see you in my next video.